What is the pootiest place you've visited?
Duke, Oman. 2 hotels, a Pizza Hut, and a DFC, Duke Fried Chicken. Also can't forget the hundreds of miles of new roads that led to more sand and dirt. Poo was built like the first 5 minutes of a SimCity 2000 game.
Back in the day, Dukium had the only decent internet connection within a 500 km radius, so at least had that going for it. Also an hour drive from Khalaf and Ras Madraka, some of the most gorgeous stretches of coast in the country. But yeah, the whole concept of Dukium is as if an urban planner jotted down some notes on a napkin whilst high on crystal meth.
The Salton Sea made me sad. There was so much hope around this place. Now if you visit, it's a very poor town, the sand sucks your shoes off and smells awful, and the stench of dead fish permeates the air. Now their only bar presents as a David Lynch nightmare if you go.
Salton Sea is amazing. It's the closest I've ever seen to a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And due to the fact that most of the rotting abandoned buildings are from the 1960s, it's eerily similar to a Fallout game. This documentary, link.
I live in New Zealand, and to get from my city to the country's biggest city Auckland you used to have to drive through a town called Huntly. I don't care how nice the locals might make it seem, it is the ugliest, dirtiest, most feral place I've been in this country. Thankfully, they put in a highway about 1 to 2 years ago so you can now bypass it. Edit, spelling.
I agree. Huntly is a mining town without a mine. It reeks of desperation. The town's notable feature is a sign for a chain store that closed 30 years ago, and I'm not even slightly joking about that. Barstow, CA. Imagine if an entire town was one big sketchy-ass truck stop.
Explains why Mr. Roman Pierce didn't want to go back to Barstow.
I was helping friends move across the country and I called my husband one night when we stopped. He said, "Where have you gotten to?" And I said, "I don't know, but it's the ugliest place I've ever seen in my life." And he said, "Oh, you've gotten to Midland, Odessa," and he was correct. I have seen a lot of the world, and Midland, Odessa, Texas, is by far the most terrible place I've ever looked at.
I just popped in on Google Maps and I can confirm 2 things that struck me. 1. The parking lot to building ratio is way too high. Lots of asphalt. 2. I went to downtown Midland, and it looks like it was built by someone who had only seen pictures of cities. Like there are just a bunch of office buildings plopped down and no other businesses.
Ever been into an office building where maintenance quit and the real estate company hasn't hired replacements in 6 months? Every broad office floor of cubicles looks like it's in a zombie movie. Half of the fluorescent tube lights are dead or flickering from a bad ballast. Some places the air is a bit too cold and dry, while in others it's too hot and humid. Enough to make you think there might be mold growing on the walls. It's like a massive fat bloated man was breathing his stinking breath on your neck. Oh, and the bathrooms. Oh, the bathrooms. I'm not even going to describe that. I'd rather not revisit the memory. The break room sinks weren't bad though. But then, people are more likely to take care of things they actually have to use. It's not as fire and forget as a men's room. Except for the one break room where I felt someone mixed up the 2 types of rooms and figured a drain is a drain. A corporation in the final stages of decline is a sad creature.
I've always said that the most important person in any office building is the janitor.
Usually I agree, but I want to shout out to the real estate people who get rid of the root-bound potted plants stinking up the area before they become a problem, and stock the break rooms. These 2 groups of people are practically invisible when doing their jobs. And if you're a tech company, you should probably keep your IT and janitary staff close together. They'll be able to gripe together in a disconcertingly familiar way, and that's good for morale.
Zinc, Arkansas. It felt like I stumbled into the movie set for House of Wax, Children of the Corn and Deliverance all in one place. They had a hair salon, mechanic, courthouse, jail all in one building. The judge's wife was the hairstylist, the judge was also the mechanic, and the sheriff was his son. F. That. Poo.
For me it is Hope, Arkansas. I was a kid and my family stayed the night at the Holiday Inn on our way to somewhere else. When we checked in they gave us a complimentary fly swatter. The solids removal room of a wastewater treatment plant.
I used to work in a lab that dealt with different kinds of waste streams and solids removal. Municipal waste was one of the better, if not the best, types of waste that came through the lab. The other types of waste like dairy, duck, and landfill runoff are 10x worse.
Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, 1985. I think my mom and aunt went to buy cheap liquor. Great idea. Take 3 kids under 5 to what seemed like a war zone for booze. Ah, the 80s.
Oklahoma County Jail. I've spent some time in a few other jails for various misadventures, but that place may have well as been a prison camp in a third world country. Computers were down for 36 hours, so everyone was crammed into holding cells awaiting processing. There were lice crawling everywhere. Some asshole threw his lunch bag in the toilet. Not that I blame him. The green bologna sandwich isn't very appetizing, so it backed up all over the floor. The entire staff looked like the My 600-Pound Life All-Star team, and you were lucky to get a 6 ounces styrofoam cup of water once every 6 hours. Absolutely disgusting, especially when my crime was a 6-year-old failure to appear charged for a speeding ticket. Go F yourself, OKC.
You should write a book. This sounds fascinatingly terrible, and I am more intrigued about your misadventures than I should be.
Don't get me wrong. I love Hanoi and most of Vietnam, but in the old quarter of Hanoi the sewage tends to seep up into the gutter due to ancient broken pipes. When a waft hits you in plus 30°C heat and high humidity, I'm not sure there's much worse than that.
From Hanoi, and I gotta say, Skid Row in Los Angeles beats the old quarter because at least Hanoi can blame it on broken pipes. I've gagged just walking on streets adjacent to Skid Row.
Slough, where the UK office is set. It's grey, the mood, the city, the sky, the type of place where 12-year-olds will be drunk on the high street at 4 p.m. A very depressing city.
Clovis, New Mexico. It permanently smells like cow poo there.
Roswell, New Mexico. It was a bucket list destination for me, but the town was such a disappointment. The Alien Museum felt lackluster and the whole area gave me sad, burnt-out vibes. Bottomless Lake State Park just outside of town was beautiful, though.
The pyramids. Despite the impression TV gives you that they are in the middle of a beautiful unspoilt desert, they are actually in the worst part of Cairo. Dirty, full of litter and polluted to buggery. Getting off the coach you will be absolutely mobbed by beggars, scam artists and thieves. They will hound you every step of the way to the pyramids. I had one literally put his hand in my pocket and try to steal my smokes, saying, "My cigarettes. Mine." They will beg anything off you on principle. If you are carrying a bottle of water they will beg you for it. I thought Port Said was bad because it looked like a bomb had hit it, but the pyramids was something else. I am sure Egypt is a lovely country with lots of natural beauty, but Charo and the pyramids left a really bad impression on me.
Gary, Indiana. Apologies to those who live there, but it's kinda like the armpit of America. It reeks of a town that was once a cool place to be but has just been left to the wayside. Edit. Holy cow, didn't expect this many people to agree. Thank you very much for the awards. Who would have thought my very first awards would have come from an offhanded post about Gary?
I've got family in South Bend. The joke is depending on which direction the wind is blowing you can smell Gary in either South Bend or Chicago. Truly is a poo hole.
Qatar. Houthi slave state with no culture of their own.
I was there for 6 months for work. Hated it. The glitzy glamour didn't hide the rotten soul of the place. Some of my co-workers were blinded by the facade, but I and others saw right through it.
Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, U.S. I'm from the Midwestern U.S. and I've been all around the world: Lebanon, Kabul, Thailand, France, Iceland, Kenya, and I've never seen anywhere as bad as Pine Ridge. Toddlers in full diapers wandering the streets alone, stray dogs, dead dogs all over the place, rotted out houses on the side of the road, people dead drunk in the streets on the outskirts of the reservation because it's a dry reservation. It truly breaks my heart even to think about it. Edit. I want to acknowledge that these dire circumstances are a direct result of how Native peoples have always been treated, at least in the US and Canada. I'm not in any way blaming or pointing fingers at the Oglala, Lakota Sioux, who share that reservation. It is a result of hundreds of years of oppression and neglect, and I think the government can and should help, in major ways. Build some effing infrastructure, for one.
My tribe is Oglala Lakota and Pine Ridge is our reservation. I grew up off the res, and when I came to visit I was shocked how bad it was. It is the poorest reservation in the country. Link.
Chennai, India. Watching dogs get beat to death in the street, people literally pooting in the street, 5 or 6 attempted robberies of myself alone and a good dozen men trying to grope the only other woman in our teaching group on day 1 just left me utterly disgusted. Every time I watch a travel show in India now I'm just left wondering how much they cut out.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.